Hello guys, welcome to the channel Codeboard once again, and I am Kaushik with you at the fourth tutorial video of jQuery tutorial video series. So we will continue from the point where we left in the third tutorial video. So if you have not seen my last tutorial video, you could go back to my channel and watch those, because from there you could get the basic syntactical and theoretical part of the jQuery. And in the third video, I already started creating a simple application using jQuery and HTML. So we will continue that application today, okay? So let's start coding. Okay, so in today's video, I am going to show you few more functionalities in jQuery. Among of them is like showing some element, hiding some element, and how will you bind some event in some dynamically created elements. Okay, so for demonstrating of those things, I am going to add few more features in our applications. Okay, so if I go back in the browser and I can show you that what we made earlier. Let's say I want to fill some data in the form. Let's say Kaushik and some date here maybe. Then the gender and finally the preference, and then if I submit, the form data is showing into this particular table. Okay, so today I am going to add a feature that if you have already added some data in the table, you could delete it also. Okay, so I want to add a delete button against each record in the table. Okay, so let's start with coding. To add the delete button, I want to add a new table header. So let me add a new table header here, th operation and a closed table header. Okay, and all I want to do is that I am creating the dynamically HTML row with the 4 data elements, but now apart from these 4 data elements, I also want to add a button, right? So let me do that. So instead of any dynamic data element, I can add a static button here. Button. Let me add a class here. I will tell you later why I am going to add a class here. So the class name delete maybe, and then the button text delete, and then finally button. Okay. So now if I go to the browser and refresh it, let me fill the data here, and this is mail, says music. So you can see that already one dynamically button has been created for deleting this particular row. So, but if I click on this particular button, you can see that nothing is happening because I have not added any code for this particular delete button. So let's go to the code and add some coding for deleting this particular row. Okay. So let me go to the code. Okay, so I have added the delete class with each button, right? So whenever I will add some new record, one button will be created and each button will have the delete class. So delete class is going to be common for all the delete buttons. So now if I can bind some click event with this delete class, then I can do something with the delete click in the browser. Okay, so let me add some code to bind the click event with this delete class. So thing is going to be simple, like dot delete dot click function, and then let me show some alert to check if it is working or not. Okay, so this is not going to work. Okay, so let me show you that it is not going to work first, and then I will explain that why it is not going to work. So let me fill some data here. Now if I click on the delete button, you can see that the alert is not coming, right? The hello alert is not showing in the browser. Why is that? But if you go to the browser and let me inspect element, so you can see that class delete is already attached with this particular button, and you also have added a click event with this delete class, but still the alert is not coming. So what is the reason? The reason is this particular code is being executed when the page is loading, right? But was the delete button there when the page was loading? Not, right? Because the delete button was created only when I submitted the form. Okay, so this particular code was executed successfully when the page was loaded, but the jQuery didn't find any element with the class delete when it was loading. Okay, so it could not bind the click event with the particular delete class. Okay, so what we need to do? We need to do something different when we want to bind some event with a element which is being created dynamically. Okay, so I am going to show you how you can do it. So first you choose an element which is already there when the page was loading. Okay, so what that can be? So let me go to the HTML section. Now you can see that table with ID data is a static element and it was there when the page was loading, right? So I can easily bind an event with this particular table. Now just think about something, that if I bind the click event with this particular table, then whenever you will click on any part of this table, the click function will execute, right? But in the table there are many sections, right? Table head, table headers, body, rows, columns. So wherever you will click, that particular click function will execute. So the thing is that I am going to add a click event with this particular table. Then I am going to check that whether the click is being happened on the delete button or somewhere else in the table. If it is happening in somewhere else of the table apart from the delete button, nothing is going to happen. But if the click is being happened on the delete button, then only I am going to execute some function which helps me to delete a particular row. Okay, so how I can do that? So let me show you. It is a different syntax. So it should look like that. First let me select the table here, data. Then instead of click, I need to add the event on, and then I need to write the event name, that is click. Then I need to give the particular selector on which I want to check the click is happened or not. So let me add dot delete. Okay, so this particular syntax means that if the click is happened on a element which has ID data, then it will check whether the click is happened in a child element of this particular data element which has class delete. Okay, then only this function is going to be executed. Okay, so let me go to the browser and let me show you. So if I refresh it, let me add some data here. And that's it. So if I now click anywhere else, nothing is happening. So let me click on the delete. So you can see the alert is coming. So now I have got an handle to write some code on the click event on this delete button, right? So let me go to the code now. Now what I need to do is that on which row the delete is being clicked, that row needs to be deleted, right? So for our case, the deletion means the row needs to be hidden. I mean, it should not show into the browser view. Okay, so let me go to the code and okay, so there is a special selector in jQuery which I can write in this way, $this. So $this is going to select a particular element on which the event is happened. Okay, so let me go to the browser and let me tell you that I have a record here. Okay, right? Now let me add few more record with same data. Now there are 4 delete buttons, right? So I can click on any of these delete button. Okay, but if now I have to detect on which particular delete button user has clicked, then I can use $this. Okay, so if you select $.delete, then it is going to select all those 4 delete button. But inside the callback function for the click event, if you write $this, then that particular button is going to be selected on which the click is done by the user. Okay, instead of the 4 buttons which has class .delete. Okay, so now if I now write $this, then this is going to select a particular button on which the click is done by the user, right? So now there is another selector function which is called .parent. Okay, so .parent means that it is going to give me a element which is the parent element of $this. Okay, so let me show you in the browser by inspect element. So let's say I have clicked on this button. Okay, so by this button is being selected. Now if I call dot parent, then it is going to select the parent element of this particular button, which is this one, right? So this column is going to select by dot parent. Now I am going to write again one more dot parent. Okay, so now what is happening is that if I call dot parent on the button, I am going to select this particular column. Now if I call the dot parent again, then I am going to select the parent of this particular column, which is this particular row, right? So if I call dot parent twice, I am going to select the full row. Okay, now there is a function in jQuery which is called dot hide. Okay, so dot hide function basically hides the element. Okay, so it basically you can say comparable with CSS Displaynone. Okay, so it is exactly same, but you can do it using jQuery itself, dot hide. Okay, so if you click on any delete button, then I am going to select the row for that particular button, and then I am going to hide it. Okay, so by which it looks like that the data is deleted. Okay, so let me save it and go to the browser. Let me fill up some data here. Okay, so let me add one more data here with some different values, and then okay, so let me close the console first. Okay, so now if I click on a delete button, let's say this one, you can see that the row is deleted. Okay, so this is the functionality we have added, and what we have learned from this, that how you can bind an event on a dynamically created element, and how you will use the $this special selector, and what is the functionality of the dot parent, and finally the hide function. Okay, okay, now I want to add one more functionality with this, that if you somehow by mistake deleted a row, you can undo it. Okay, so for that let me add a button here in the HTML before the table. So let me add a button undo. Okay, and let me add a ID here. Let's say ID undo also. Okay, so now let me add a click event for this particular button. So that is going to be simple, has undo dot click. I can use the dot click directly here because it is a static element, and then the function, right? So now how I will undo it? So for that I need to change the code a bit here. So instead of writing the dot hide button directly here, let me first take the element in a variable, var element equals to this one. Okay, so this is basically going to be the row element inside which user has clicked the delete button, right? Now I can call the element dot hide. So this is going to be the same. Instead of writing the dot hide in a single line, I am just breaking it. Okay, so there is nothing difficulties here. I want to store this particular element in a variable so that in later stage I can show it again in the undo click. Okay, so let me declare a global variable here, var last deleted element. Okay, so let me assign this last deleted element value as element, right? Now I have stored the last deleted element in a temporary variable. So I have mistake the spelling, right? Element. Okay, sorry. Let me correct it. Okay, so I have stored the last deleted element in a temporary variable here. Now all I want to do is that it is already hidden. Now I want to show it again. Okay, so there is a function in jQuery for showing an element which is hidden, that is called dot show. Okay, so it's very simple, like this dot show. Okay, so that should be all. Let me go to the browser and refresh it. So you can see that undo button is appeared now. So let me add few data here. and submit. Let me add one more data here, because okay, let me delete it. So it is deleted now, and now I want to undo it. So you can see that the data element is already appeared once again. So by mistake, if you have deleted some data, you can undo it again. So by which you can learn this dot hide and dot show functions of jQuery. Okay. So using this dot hide and dot show, you are doing some specific task, right? You are hiding some element by dot hide, or you are showing some element by dot show. So before calling this particular function, you need to know if the element is hidden, then you can call the show, because if the element is already shown, then if you call the show, there is no effect. Okay. In our case, we know that whether the element is visible or not in the browser, but there can be some critical applications where you cannot know from programming point of view that whether the element is currently visible or not. So before calling the show or hide, you need to check that the element is currently visible or not. So there is another function in jQuery which helps us doing this in an efficient way. Okay. So the function name is toggle. Okay. I need to call toggle here. So toggle means, so it helps us to show an element if it is hidden, and to hide an element if it is already visible. Okay. So I don't need to call a separate function for showing and hiding. Rather, I can call the toggle function common way, so it becomes hidden or visible in an alternative way. Okay. So let me go to the browser and show you. Let me add our data here. Now mail and music. So I have already entered a data. Let me delete it. So it is deleted now because I called the toggle. Toggle means if it was visible, so it is now hidden. Okay. So now if I click undo, so it is again visible. So instead of calling the show and hide method separately, I can call the toggle event. Okay. So let me show you one more thing to do this particular operation in another way. So I just mentioned you that dot hide and dot show is nothing but the equivalent CSS attribute display none or display block or something else, right? So I can set the CSS attribute directly to an element instead of calling the jQuery function hide or show. Okay. So how I can do that? So I can do it in this way, element dot CSS. And now inside the curly braces, I need to write the CSS display none. Okay. Okay. So now here also I can write display and then table row. Okay. So this is also an CSS property. Sorry, this should be like this. This is also a value for the display property of the CSS to show it as a table row. Okay. So now if I go to the browser and let me refresh it, let me add some data here and some value, let's say mail, music, computer, books, all these three, and if I submit it, you can see that the data is in the table. Now if I delete it, the data is now not visible because I have added the display none CSS property on the table row. So now if I click on the undo, you can say it is again visible because the CSS property has been changed to table row. So let me show you in the browser console also. So you can see the style display table row is appeared here in the inspect element section. Now if I click on the delete button, so you can see that it has been changed to display none, right? Now if I click undo again, then it is again showing the display table row. So this is how I can change the CSS property dynamically using the jQuery. So I have done a functionality of deleting a particular row and undo it again. Okay. But I can do it in 3 different ways. So let me show you what are the ways I did it. Just for your reference, I am writing all these three types by which you can show or hide a particular element. So these two is about displaying or hiding a particular element. But if you think about the CSS function of the jQuery, so this is a broader concept, right? Because you can add any particular CSS dynamically to a particular element, right? So in JavaScript, what we would do to set the display value in styling, we would do like document.getElement by id some id dot style dot display equals to none. Okay, so now it is much smaller. It's like the $some id or some class dot css display none. Okay, so these are the three things I wanted to mention in today's video. So let me know if you have understood it properly, and if you have any doubt, please let me know in the comment section also. If you have enjoyed this particular tutorial, please like the video, and if you are new to the channel and have not subscribed my channel yet, please subscribe, and thanks for watching the video.